Hey, welcome back into today's video. We're going to be talking about the Collins family. Not that family. This is about a Christian family, but not the best example of a Christian family. It looks to be a family that practices and promotes extreme religious beliefs. And when you look deeper, it looks like alleged child neglect and bad parenting disguised as something else. Apparently, Karissa Collins, the mom, wants to sacrifice her children to God. You see, Karissa hears God's voice and she once attempted to give birth at a Target because God told her to do so. And it doesn't stop there. Apparently, the kids don't get a proper education or even medical care. All this while she seems to be spreading a pretty dangerous medical advice to her millions of followers. This is not good. In today's episode of Exploring TikTokers. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar, Karissa has a TikTok called The Collins Kids. It's got 1 million followers and 23 million likes. The bio says, Yahweh's servant, believer wife, mother of 11. Actually, it's 12 now. And you guessed it, the majority of her content is of her children. So right off the bat, we have a family channel, one that uses the children mainly, 12 of them, which, incentivizes them to make content. What could go wrong? Karissa also has an Instagram with 467,000 followers. Apparently had a previous one that was 1.6 million that was deleted. The bio says that Yahuwah is God's original Hebrew name. But that's not exactly true. See, Yahuwah is not historically verified as God's original Hebrew name. In the original Hebrew, the name God is given as 4 letters. YHWH. Known as the Tetragrammaton, these letters are the root of both Jehovah and Yahweh in praising the divine name in the fall 2024 issue of Biblical Archaeology Review. So it's widely accepted that Yahweh is the most likely pronunciation of this translation. Essentially, the name that she uses is not accepted by mainstream scholarship. She also has a Facebook with 1.7 million followers. That's a lot. And here she is again, servant of Yahweh, God's Hebrew name. And so again, I'm putting emphasis on this because it's not supported by linguistic or archaeological evidence. So it's not accurate or responsible to push with certainty that Yahuwah is the original correct translation of God's name. And when we're talking about things that aren't accurate or responsible to do, this is but the introduction to this video. She's named every single one of her children with names that start with an A. She also seems to believe that God gave her ministry to tell women what to do with their bodies.
People are saying my theology is messed up. This is what we believe. We believe that all life is from God, that He knows you before He forms you in the womb, that children are a blessing and a gift, and that God is who He says He is, that the Bible is true, and we cannot find anywhere in the Bible that gives us permission to choose to prevent, sterilize, or abort.
Did you hear that last part she tried to smuggle in? So what she's saying is that the Bible doesn't explicitly give permission for X, therefore X is wrong. That's invalid logic. Just because something isn't mentioned or permitted explicitly doesn't mean it's forbidden. By that logic, you could say the Bible doesn't mention driving cars or using the internet, therefore both are sinful. She's making category errors where she's saying things that are true and she's putting them in with bad logic of things that aren't true. So again, this isn't advocation for one side or the other. What it is pointing out the really bad logic and how this is a consistent theme throughout this video, as you're going to see. While Karissa's family was evangelical and raised her such, they did not practice the same things that she does today. It's alleged that she was close to her grandmother, who was very religious. Karissa's husband, Mandre, was a talented basketball player that was born in Denison, Texas. And while he was quite religious before meeting Karissa, he did not have the extreme fundamental beliefs that she has today. Karissa also apparently was a talented basketball player. That kind of looks like a volleyball, though. I did find a post where she says, Hubs and I played college basketball, and I also played college volleyball. So volleyball mystery solved. It's said that her beliefs shifted mainly when she joined a Bible college in her mid-20s. On Facebook, she posted this incredibly long story of how she met her husband. You guys are more than welcome to pause and read this in its entirety, but I'm going to read some key points. I was a 21-year-old Bible college student. I had never had a boyfriend, been kissed, or done anything with a guy. I hadn't even held hands with a guy. I have always had a love for hip-hop music and dark skin. What does that mean? I don't know if it's unintentional. I did read somewhere where it is alleged that she also said that she was black at heart, but this really sounds like more of an object of fascination than expressing a genuine appreciation for a culture or group of people. Now, the intent might be good, but the wording, it came off as a reductive or overly focused on appearance type of thing. I think there's a way you can phrase phrase this where it's respectful to culture and people rather than reducing them to a skin color. I have always loved hip-hop music and dark skin, and being in a Bible college, I felt like I had no influence for Christ. Everyone there already knew him, so I 100% honestly started to go clubbing. Dead serious would go in order to witness to others. Many people don't believe me. They don't think it's possible to be that naive and innocent, but I was. Yeah, I definitely don't believe that your intention to go to the club was fully to minister to party goers. Maybe you wanted to party. My main audience was men. Will color me shocked because, well, let's be honest, I never got along well with women. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section. I would give every single guy I danced with at the club my phone number. I did this to get them away from me because I had a one-song policy. I refused to dance with anyone for longer than one song. I was not a fan of clinginess, and after giving my number to many, many guys, I never got a phone call from anyone ever. I don't know, guys. I don't know if she's telling the truth. But this one day I got a phone call. I had no idea who I was talking to. No idea which one of the many men it was. But this guy happened to ask me about church. You don't say. So we met at our local Walmart. He went to college an hour away, so we met in a town in the middle at Walmart. Lol. That is so weird, huh? I don't know, maybe not that weird. We spent the day together playing basketball, volleyball, and meeting my friends at college. And by the evening, I felt like we had known each other for our entire life. I even told my friend after he left that I had met the man I was going to marry. So after 2 years of dating, they got married in 2007. Karissa was 23 years old, and she started blogging in 2009. We're going to go over some of those blog posts. This apparently is her blog. It's only got like 3,577 views, so we might find some crazy stuff. So it looks like her early blog posts were focused on gaining financial stability and making more money, just kind of like normal couple stuff. She's saying we did not have jobs or money, didn't know anybody. In another blog post, she talks about how she didn't even want kids until things took a different trajectory. So on this website called The Transformed Wife, she apparently posted her story about this. Mandre and I went into our marriage with a 5-year plan. Enjoy each other for 5 years. Do everything you can before you even consider thinking about children. I was never big on kids in the first place. I had serious dreams. Dreams to start a singing career. Dreams to make loads of money and be outrageously successful and admired. After about a year into our marriage, God started to steer our hearts. We listened to sermon after sermon about trusting God. One day, we left a church service hearing the same thing. Why aren't we trusting God to give us a child in His time? That day changed everything. Not just my views on family planning, but literally everything. God started to reveal so much truth. He began to send me so many verses and revelations of what trusting Him really looks like. So we start off by trusting God in His timing, but apparently this didn't last long because she ended up pushing Mandre to have kids. In quotes, can we please have a baby? Okay, so lately I've been bugging my husband over and over for a little baby. He is not ready and wants to have like $1 million in the bank before we do that, and our house and cars and student loans all paid off. Well, by then I'll probably be dead or in a retirement home, so that didn't sit well with me. Plus, I just turned 25, so she turned 25 during this. And I'm already too old, and I wanted to have a baby when I was 22. So anyway, I was all over Mandre about having a baby. So it doesn't sound like God's timing, that sounds like your timing, which is fine if you want to have a baby. I completely understand that. The other person also needs to have a part in that conversation. And this next thing says, I started to pray about it and ask God to somehow make me have a baby through my birth control because I don't believe in tricking Him by not taking birth control and not telling Him. That is just wrong. Although I had thought about it a lot. Smiley face. So anyway, one day I was praying in a church about it because my best friend had a baby and my sister had a baby and I was just baby crazy by then. God started to convict me that I should not be taking birth control and that we were living in total faith and trust in every other area of our life for Christ except this one. We were going to decide when was the best time for us to have a baby. I talked to Mandre one night about it and told him if we're going to dedicate our life to Christ in total faith, we had to do it in all areas, including when we have a baby. Only God can know when we are physically, emotionally, and mentally ready to have a baby. So the problem with this is that God gave us free will, and this is subtly encouraging the idea that God micromanages us, but He don't do that. That's not what God's will is. See, He gave us agency, wisdom, and moral reasoning to make choices. This is basically using religious language to shut down rational and moral discussion, implying we can't know anything, so just let it happen. It's almost like survivor's bias. Like if you went to a pet store and you were like, hey, you know, I'm not going to get this dog this time, but if I come back in 3 days and it's still there, then it was meant to be. It was destiny. And you go away for 3 days and you come back and it's like, oh, it's destiny. Got to get it now. Well, it misses out on all the times that stuff don't work out. And it just so you understand what this means, if you went back and it wasn't there, and that's destiny, and if it was there, that's still destiny, then it means nothing. God's omniscience does not replace our wisdom, rationality, and our ability to make choices, because if it did, then it would take away free will, and he doesn't do that. He gives us it for a reason. She says, so that night I went off birth control. Now that I think about it, when you're living holy and pleasing life in total surrender to God, then God will only give you what is best for your life. And why would I ever decide on my own when it's the best time to have a child? So just so we're clear here, she's throwing her own autonomy and agency out the window. It doesn't matter at all. And saying that everything that happens is God's will. But that's not how God's will works. To me, it sounds more like an excuse, because if it worked that way, then anybody could use that excuse for all good and all bad that they're doing. And you can see the issue with that. Friday, July 31st, 2009, our family tree. So the other day I ran my family 5-year plan with Mondre, and he didn't seem to disagree with it. So right now, here's the plan at least. Anissa, born November 13, 2009. That is my prediction of when she will be born. And then she has all the other children's predestined born dates. So she had it planned out that by the age of 29, she would have 5 children. Contradictingly saying, I know that God has the final say, but I hope it looks something like this. Saying that and then saying this, why would I ever decide on my own when is the best time to have a child? And only God can know when you're physically, emotionally, and mentally ready to have a baby. We have some conflicting thoughts here. Back to the article. After 3 children came quickly, my husband started to doubt that this was really what God wanted. Of course he did. It is so scary that you're literally the only person you know that lives like this. I fought fear, but knew it was how God was asking us as Christ followers fully surrendered to live. I feel like I'm starting to get a picture here. My husband struggled through years of doubt and fear of not being able to provide, fear of giving our children the life they deserve, fear of lacking time with each child, fear of limiting the love we were able to give, fear of being called irresponsible, fear of comments and judgment. He even told me multiple times that he was getting a vasectomy. It was the core of many of our fights. Not being on the same page with your spouse is so hard, especially when you know without a doubt what God is calling you to do. And then this next part gets crazy. He consulted pastor after pastor who informed him that we should be done, that we are being irresponsible. And again, this ties back into my point, okay? The ability to have free will means that you have the option to do the wrong thing. Do you understand that? Okay? And it isn't up to you personally as a human being full of flaw and mistake, if you're a Christian, to decide what that good or bad is, okay? Or to say that you have no bad because everything is God's will. That's not how this works. I ended up taking birth control as the lesser of 2 in exchange for the vasectomy. After 2 weeks taking the pill, I decided to stop and leave it in my husband's hands. On top of it all, I was struggling with my health. The doctor told me I couldn't and shouldn't have any more children. I was having blackouts, mini strokes, heart issues, and eventually was diagnosed with MS. I found out that these issues were all caused by my birth control. This made convincing my husband that the continuation to trust God with our womb even harder. But I knew I was to trust God alone. So things went downhill after that. She was struggling with multiple physical and mental issues, and it just kept getting worse. So I looked at multiple studies. One major study says our findings should be interpreted cautiously. While the use of some combination of oral contraceptives may contribute to the rising incidence of MS in women, an unmeasured co-founder associated with the modern women's lifestyle is more likely explanation for this weak association. Another major study, neither use of oral contraceptives nor the parity were significantly associated with the risk of MS. So basically it's non-conclusive. There's still ongoing research into this. Some saying yes and some saying no, but all agreeing that more research is needed. But her saying it was 100% Yaz birth control. And again, I did research specifically on Yaz birth control, and what I found was that blackouts, mini strokes, and heart issues were actually part of the side effects. Taking Yaz can increase your risk of blood clots, stroke, or attacks of the heart. We got sudden vision loss, blurred vision, chest pains. So she's being warned about all these dangers. She's not in the condition to have another child. Doctors are telling her this. And it seemed difficult to care for 3 kids already. We already know Mandre was going through it. And at this point, she decided to have one more child. I got pregnant with baby number 4, and life got harder. There was a bleed in the sac and threatened miscarriage. I knew I had to repent of the birth control, and God healed my baby. Then my husband lost his job right after we bought a new house. and a new car to fit our soon-to-be family of 6. I was 9 months pregnant, working evenings, and I knew God wanted me to quit my job. Lord Almighty. And we did it. We trusted God. We had no income and more bills than ever in our life. Fundamentally, this woman is saying that everything that she does seems to have something to do with God, which, again, God doesn't do this. God is not a controlling God. That's not what this is. It's her making choices and her refusing to take accountability for these choices that are clearly putting her husband in a bad position. And I feel bad just reading these things. Does God want you guys to quit your job tomorrow? Let me know. So things were not looking good, and to make it worse, Karissa was advocating that other people make the similar decisions that she was with their life. Worse is, according to Karissa, choosing not to have children isn't an option, even if your health is at risk. Karissa posted on Instagram in an Ask Me Anything, when is it okay to stop having kids in regards to severe health issues, like having several C-sections, to which she says, I believe that only God knows that, and we should trust Him to close our womb is His timing. I know several women that have had 11 C-sections, and their bodies are great. Their bodies aren't great after 7 C-sections. That's not true. One article from the Mayo Clinic says, it creates conditions like serious bleeding, the need for blood transfusions, the need for surgery to remove the uterus called hysterectomy, health issues related to surgery such as organ and tissue damage, the need for emergency delivery, and preterm delivery. There's also scar tissue issues, incisions, and multiple other types of things. But according to Karissa, you cannot prevent pregnancy even if it, there's a chance that you pass away. One user comments, I have a question, and I'm not attacking you. I want your opinion. If I almost died last time I had a baby, does God want me to forego my family planning and potentially leave my living kids motherless? Doesn't God give us knowledge so that we can make decisions to protect our families? To which Karissa says, I have almost died a few times. I am posting a video about this soon. I would most def give my life to bring about more. And a creepy heart-out emoji. So she says things like, it's ingrained in our head that pregnancy messes up our bodies, but in reality, it's quite great for us. Very healing. It's scientifically proven. Obviously, very contradicting. But it gets more extreme than that. She believes that everyone should have babies, even if they don't want to. And that they should not stop having babies, even if they're not capable of it. In this post, she says, that's the key. I ran across this verse today in my readings. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own. You were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. Corinthians 6:19-20. And then she gives her interpretation of it. What price are we willing to pay to bring our children, His children, into the world? Why are we putting our own value on their lives? The other day, someone told me they were disappointed I keep having children because my other children don't get enough time. So my question was, should Armor not be alive so Anissa gets more time? The answer was yes. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This frames the issue as if either she stops having more children or one existing child must die. In reality, there are many middle options like spacing pregnancies, family planning, etc. It oversimplifies a nuanced moral issue into two extreme choices. She also misrepresented the critics' argument. No one said that any child should have to die or anything like that. No, they said that each child may get less attention or care. Obviously, this is a straw man fallacy. Karissa is exaggerating the point here, saying that you just don't want any children to exist at all, instead of attacking the true premise, which was you might be having so many that you can't keep up with it. Going on to say, how crazy to think we really believe some children are burdens and in the way of temporary, meaningless things. I'm here to tell you that we must stop placing our own value on our future children's lives. Now, obviously, this is extremely manipulative. That's not in God's plan. She's taken some statements that are true in Bible verses and construing them in a way to manipulate her viewers into what she thinks is right. And I don't think God would like that. I really think that's probably more than just hypocritical. It sounds a little bit sacrilegious.
I went on birth control knowing that, but I was like, I'm not going to prevent future children, and the vasectomy is permanent. Well, every single day for a week that I put that pill in my mouth, I knew, like the Bible says, anything not done in faith is sin. And so I knew I was sinning. Like I knew without a shadow of a doubt, I was not obeying the Lord and I was going against His exact words to me. And so I told my husband, this was the hardest thing I've done so far in our marriage, I really believe, that I've had to do. I said, I'm giving you over to a vasectomy because I can't partake in sin. So I said, I will not pull out. I will not do anything that is going to prevent God from giving us life and blessing our family. Wow. And I said, I can't partake, but I also can't force you. And so I said, you can get a vasectomy, but you will stand before the Lord one day and you will account for what you've done.
So these views are a little bit more than extreme, and I think that it's really important for people to understand intent matters. And she's misquoting Bible verses and twisting them to her will, not God's will, okay? She even talks about evil prevention methods. Come on, y'all, it's 2024. I know about every evil prevention method out there. I've researched them all. I've been on the pill before. We used to pull out. I just have one question for my fellow believers. Is life from God? If you get pregnant, is that life from God, or do you just create it for yourself from nothing? If we believe every pregnancy and life is from God, why would we deny his gift or life to prevent it? It's the heart of abortion. If you're preventing, are you really pro-life? And just so we're clear, she's not having the normal debate that people have. Not at all. She thinks that you should keep having babies continuously, whether you're financially stable or not, whether you're healthy or not. It's about as extreme as you can get. I mean, these are her words. So Karissa keeps having more and more children. We already know that Mandre he's having some difficulties and struggles. We've heard her talk about it herself. The issue is it's been alleged that there's parentification going on, that the children are taking care of the children. Like the older ones are taking care of the younger children, and this is very strange. I mean, just look at the reactions that the children have when they find out that her mom is pregnant again.
Hear me, I said 12 children.
You said 12 children. You guys. Yay! Yay! Mommy's pregnant! Yay! You're pregnant! Mom, I knew it! Mom, you're pregnant! No, Mom, you're gonna have children. Wait, no!
I don't know what I'm gonna have, but yes, I'm pregnant.
Mom! She's pregnant! Give me it. No way! You're pregnant!
Yeah, I was. I thought I was. I'm not joking. I thought I was.
You can tell Dad.
Yeah. Mommy is pregnant! Big brother, because Mommy's pregnant.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
It's crazy. I've never seen children make faces like this at these types of announcements. The older ones are just like, no way. Like, they cannot believe it.
Mommy is pregnant.
That is quite literally a look of horror. One user saying she looks like she wants to cry. This is horrible. It reminds me of Ruby Frankie. Another saying, you guys act surprised. Usually the oldest of all the children has the most responsibility, so of course she's mortified. Laughing face emoji. Why are we laughing at that? And just to solidify down the parentification thing, and if you guys aren't familiar with what parentification is, parentification or parent-child role reversal is the process of role reversal whereby the child or adolescent is obliged to support the family system in ways that are developmentally inappropriate and overly burdensome. And it looks like it's more than alleged that this is going on, because Mandre even says they have a buddy system.
I think that we've kind of been able to overcome some of that too, even with this little buddy system where everybody's kind of responsible for one another, and which they love to do. So that's not an issue. But we have been able to raise up leaders in the house to where they kind of look for that. So I think those kind of were the two obstacles early on, was like, man, being able to kind of round everybody up and handle all these emotions at once. But I think that we've been able to kind of manage that.
So the older kids raise the younger ones, and then the parents are like, the children love to do it. Well, I mean, you're the ones that are teaching them everything. So technically, they don't have the autonomy or agency to make their own choices. So you're sort of making them do a thing when honestly they should just be focused on being children and doing their thing. But as people look deeper, we found this.
So right now we're keeping all of the kids together so that we can surprise them with the first room, which is Anissa and Armor's room. And they already spotted Armor's crib, but watch and see how they react when they realize that this is their room and their house.
She posted a tour of their new home, and it turns out that they got it set up where the youngest child sleeps in the eldest daughter's room. That kind of, puts it within the realm of possibility that that's true.
Mom, the floor feels so good.
What did y'all do? Mom, no!
What? Oh no!
There's even parts where Karissa says that her oldest daughter is her favorite because she gets to help with chores. When people ask me if I have a favorite, I mean, I'm not going to lie. We all have favorite teachers, favorite artists, a favorite parent, a favorite grandparent. And in parenting, my favorite child changes from day to day, circumstances to circumstance. When Andre plays basketball, he's my favorite. When Angeli dances, she's my favorite. When my baby cuddles me, he's my favorite. When my oldest takes it upon herself to help with chores, she's my favorite. Honestly, I've never heard this favoritism type of talk. Another thing to point out is she didn't even name the oldest one. She just said my oldest. So that's definitely strange, but you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. So here's Anissa here wearing a shirt that says Mama, while the other children's shirts say Minnie. And in this next part, when she's asking her kids what they like to do for fun, you hear this.
What do you guys like to do for fun?
Play at the park.
Play at the park?
Lighting pop the homies. Eat together as a family. Play basketball. Watch movies. Do movie with us. Get babysit.
And then there's this other post where she says that her toddler is helping her younger one go to the restroom, which is not inherently a wrong thing, but to the point of parentification, you stack it next to this other stuff and it doesn't look good. So crazy. Aniston woke up this morning and decided she was going to help Armor go to the restroom and the potty. Now he's full on potty training. And apparently Karissa was upset about having 3 daughters in a row. They all cried on gender reveal of the 4th daughter. And she asked God, why are you giving me so many daughters? And God replied, she said, to carry your ministry of womb. We had a girl, then a boy, and then we had 3 girls in a row. My son kept praying and begging for a baby brother, and I was pregnant again. I was positive this was a boy. We had a gender reveal as a family. The smoke was pink. We all cried. What the heck? I can remember driving home. Everyone was disappointed. Sheer silence in the car. I heard the Holy Spirit whisper, name her Angel because she's going to be an angel. So here's my thing. I would say maybe still 100% some sort of psychosis, but this is a platform here. They are curating these videos. They are doing it with an incentive for views, okay? Clicks and views, money. How much of this is performative? I went to the Lord in prayer and asked him, why? Why do you have so many girls to give us? I've always desired boys, always gotten along better with boys, always saw myself as a boy mom. I mean, God knows our heart, right? His answer to me immediately shut me up. I have given you the ministry of the womb, and your girls will carry this on. He has given me the ministry of encouraging women to surrender their wombs to the Lord, and my girls will walk in that calling. Scary, man. That's absolutely scary talk. And I can't stress this enough, okay? She's sprinkling in some true things with things that are not true, that are factually incorrect, that are also manipulative, and then using Bible verses to tie them all together. This is not good. And it wouldn't be such a big issue if she wasn't peddling this stuff out to the masses and potentially putting them in danger. I mean, just check out her medical advice. She fasts during pregnancies, sometimes more than 1 day without food or water. In my first trimester, I was led by God to fast. I fasted for 88 hours and endured the hardest fast to date. During this fast, God revealed so much to me. Despite people thinking I was crazy for fasting so early in pregnancy and in pregnancy at all, I knew God called me to it, and I trusted him to sustain the baby. Shortly after the fast, I developed pneumonia, and I was sick for weeks. None of this has affected the baby. While I was suffering on the outside, he was calm. I mean, she also said that God told her to have a baby in Target. So what this looks like to me is a continuous pattern of struggling with eating and body image issues. In an old blog post, she actually talks about how she felt horrible for eating snacks while pregnant. Okay, please don't say anything because I already know this is horrible. We bought food for snacks today, and this is all I had to eat for lunch. And so look at my lunch plate. Don't worry, I felt horrible after I ate it, like I was a little Willy Wonka miniature fat person walking around, so I won't do it again, I promise, but look. Okay, so maybe that's a normal post. We all feel a little bit overweight sometimes when we eat some food. It happens, indigestion and whatnot. But she's concerned about gaining weight in pregnancy in this next one. On November 3rd, 2009, in a doctor update, she said, I gained 6 pounds in 2 weeks. That's a lot. Man, maybe I need to slow down. She even admitted herself that she had body dysmorphia and eating disorders. Battle wounds, ... I have always been pretty body conscious. I grew up with body dysmorphia and went through times with bulimia, anorexia, and starvation. I used laxatives as candy and even ate day-old Arby's sandwiches from the hot car in hopes of food poisoning? Anything to lose weight. Jesus Christ. So one of my greatest fears of having children was what it would do to my body. And while I have been very blessed with 7 births, there are still many battle wounds from my times of pregnancy and birth. I used to cringe at the sight of myself in the mirror, but after this very intense and painful birth, I'm seeing myself in a different light. These marks are evidence of life. They are proof of God's faithfulness and blessings. And so you got to think about this and put 2 and 2 together. Is she using these fastings in her pregnancies because she just believes that God wants her to do some sort of fasting? Or is it because she has these issues? So many people ask me how I stay slim after having 9 children. What's your workout program? This is something I've struggled with my whole life. Even in high school when I was tiny, I had eating disorders and body dysmorphia. I've been in a huge struggle to feel comfortable in my body. And then throw in pregnancy year after year and you have a whole mess. That's why I often get postpartum depression after a lot of my births. It's a continual surrender to God. So how do I overcome it? Over the years, I've learned to take fasting seriously, not in a weight loss way, but in a submission, surrender, and obedience to God way. I never do it to lose weight because honestly, fasting is hard, and I would never have the self-control or desire to fast to lose weight. I fast without food and drink, even no water, and you can go to my YouTube page, Created Collins for Christ, for a video explaining it. The not so subtle nod to her YouTube channel for her followers, indicating that this is an incentivized thing for clicks and views. As I surrender my will and body to the Lord in a way that I will do whatever He asks, He takes care of the rest completely. That's the freedom we have in Christ. We don't have to worry about anything at all. Give it all to Him and He will care for you. I stopped trying to lose weight and stopped caring what others thought and how I looked, and started eating to care for my temple, and then just obeying whatever God asked of me. See, this is a misconception. She's using spiritual practices to satisfy these types of delusions and disorders that it really appears that she's saying that she has here, and it's difficult because she is saying that she has these things, but then on the other hand, she's trying to tie it into Bible verses and spirituality, which it doesn't look like the case in this situation, but you guys can let me know what you think. For example, fasting, while it is spiritual and a form of asceticism, even in fasting in Catholicism and Orthodoxy, you don't fast from all food. You fast from specific foods and specific drinks. Instead of getting actual medical help, Karissa believes that God can heal everything through faith. She even claims that He healed a hole in her heart. Okay, on November 28th, I had the heart surgery to close the hole in my heart. It was so scary to actually have surgery, but I was excited to finally have those symptoms go away and get back to my life. Well, they did the surgery, and when they were in my heart, they could no longer find the hole. God healed me. It was amazing. They said that there is a leaky heart valve and it's somewhat normal. So I'm honored and in awe to have been healed by God and at the same time left stunned. All my symptoms are back and in full effect, and I'm back to square one with no answers as to why I'm blacking out, having migraines, back pain, dizziness, numbness, blurred vision, etc. I gave my body 6 weeks to heal and I'm still in pain and experiencing a lot of blacking out. I'm scared to drive sometimes, and I have to, but I'm very careful. I have a stress test with my cardiologist on Friday. That's in 3 days. And we will see if there's anything else wrong with my heart because my EKG always comes back abnormal. My follow-up is on Tuesday, and we will see what they find. If nothing, I will need to find another neurologist or just give up and wait till it gets even worse. So on one hand, she says that the hole in her heart was healed by God, and on the other hand, she says these symptoms were still there. That's very contradicting and confusing. I can't wrap my mind around it. She also claims that through prayer alone, mental illness can be healed. The more saturated you are in the Word, the less likely fear can come in and plant seeds. Whatever we water, it will grow. If we sit in fear and think about the what ifs and possibilities, we will water fear. But if we sit in His presence and read His Word, we water our faith and renew our minds. The key to overcoming PTSD, fear, anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, unforgiveness, discontent, etc. is to meditate His Word, declare His promise, and sit in His presence. What will we choose to believe? This is a category error. She's essentially treating a medical issue as if it was a belief or mindset issue. And this doesn't work because it's confusing spirituality with neurobiology and medicine. An example of the error is saying the key to overcoming PTSD is to meditate on His Word. That's like saying you can cure diabetes by praying, which shifts categories from medical cause to spiritual cure. So I want to be clear on what I'm saying here. God's domain is moral, spiritual, and eternal. and medical conditions operate in the biological and psychological domain. This is important because if you collapse them together, it implies that mental illness is a simple lack of belief and misrepresents theology and undermines compassion. And that's not a good thing to do. So it looks to me like a lot of what she's doing here is lack of ingenuity and understanding the nuance of concepts. She was point blank asked, do you think God can heal autism? And she said, of course. In this next part, Karissa believes that the RhoGAM shot is not biblically sound. If you don't know what that is, RhoGAM is a shot given to pregnant people whose blood is negative for rhesus factor, Rh protein, but who are carrying the Rh positive fetus. It is also called Rh immunoglobulin. Sorry about that. Essentially, it can cause complications like fetal brain damage and pregnancy loss in future pregnancies. And the RhoGAM shot almost completely prevents this. YouTuber CC Serez, this is her YouTube channel right here. Go ahead and like that video. And is a really good YouTuber, which you should go subscribe to, says this.
Karissa admits that she doesn't think it's biblically sound to get the RhoGAM shot and urges her followers to get medical information from a Facebook group called RhoGAM, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, sorry, Rebellion. She posted a screenshot of that Facebook group and said, I'm getting a bunch of messages asking me about the RhoGAM shot. And so I thought I would share this group that has a ton of information on it with you guys. Personally, I don't believe that it is biblically sound to get, but if you want medical information, here is the group, I guess. Again, if you have medical questions, talk to your doctor. If you don't like what they said, go get a second opinion. Do not consult with some random Facebook group.
So, and again, she didn't say this, but you know what she really means. We can look at her worldview and understand this. What she's saying is that you shouldn't intervene to try to potentially save your baby, because if it's God's plan that it passes away, then you shouldn't stop that. Are you starting to see how dangerous her information is? It's not good. Starbucks break. Okay, guys. I'd also like to say, if you haven't smashed that subscribe button, consider doing that. At least if you're enjoying the video thus far, it really helps us out around here in the Rep Squad house. And if you're not a member of the Rep Squad, how you do? All you gotta do is subscribe with notification. I'll be in the comment section every single video because I'm gonna be there. And the rest of the Rep Squad is there as well. And I hope to see you there too. All right, back to the video. Karissa prefers home birth, which is completely fine. A lot of people do this, but she prefers to do it with no medical help, no midwife, nothing, because God told her to do this. Also, keep in mind, she said God told her to have a baby in Target. So I cannot believe I'm already 30 weeks. I'm getting more and more excited for this birth. As I utilize this time to fast and pray, God has given me more and more visions and confirmation of what he wants this birth to be like. And he has solidified that he wants it to be Christ-assisted birth. How cool is that? Well, that's really cool that he said that to you. Wow. We cannot wait to see baby Anthem and cannot wait to see God be glorified through her birth. But in the meantime, I'm going to soak in the anchor cuddles and spend my time sitting in the presence of Jesus and mentally and spiritually prepare for this birth. I'm so blessed. I have so much support and love around me. And after witnessing a lot of my friends' unassisted births this year, I'm feeling like an expert. God is faithful. We are blessed and honored to be carrying his warrior. She even shared a home birth box with her followers, a list of must-have items to give birth at home. And one thing in particular caught my attention. Towels, which you already have at home. Okay. Scissors to cut the cord. Okay. Number 7, sanitizing wipes I use for the scissors to cut the cord and any hard cleanup. I don't think sanitizing wipes are how you sterilize things. I think that's actually dangerous. Risk of mortality subsequent to umbilical cord infection among newborns in southern Nepal. Infections account for approximately 36% of neonatal mortality worldwide, and neonatal sepsis may stem from local umbilical cord infections that become systemic. In developing countries, little is known about risk factors for umbilical cord infections, although unhygienic practices around the time of birth are likely determinant of disease. That was from the National Library of Medicine. OntarioMidwives.ca give you like all the steps of sanitizing because you apparently have to have a specific type of sterilization that penetrates organic matter. I guess she would know that, but apparently she's not into having midwives at all. So she also says you can get a $1 shower curtain at the dollar store to give birth on and then roll it up for easy cleanup. So this is dangerous. It's not sterile. There are microbes and all these things that you have to make sure are clean. Okay. In this other part, she says, we went on to have our first home birth, a completely unassisted home birth. I never once saw a doctor and fasted and prayed the whole pregnancy. My 10th pregnancy, 9th baby, and best pregnancy yet. birth was amazing, and Jesus was my midwife. And then she says this right after. When my baby turned 1, she was admitted to ICU and almost passed away. They still have no idea why. You know, that's tragic and terrible thing to hear, but at the same time, if you're doing things like this, you're directly putting your kids in danger. God knows what else you're doing. Actually, he probably does. Another really strange thing is her birth plan wish list, which looks more like a gratitude checklist for how perfect her birth went, which is completely fine. But one of them is all the girls watching. Pain-free, fast, everybody wants that. Short labor, yeah. Swelling immediately gone. But then all the girls watching? I don't know, man. I've never heard of this. Let me know if this is like a normal thing. Another thing is that she doesn't want to midwife around, but she loves to have an audience. She wants everybody to be there, which, So all these people watched her give birth. She had her oldest daughter serving the guests. And then, I swear to God, she even had her children playing some kind of baby game. Says, we even got them to play some birth party games beforehand. But this looks more like prepping them for parentification, honestly. She's also posted pictures and videos of her giving birth on her platform pages. And that's really scary because there are some sick people in the world. I mean, it's the whole reason that family channels aren't, the best types of things to have on the platforms anyway. So, sharing TMI on birth, yeah. Here's another one that looks like a NCAA tackle. That's kind of cool, though. He delivered his baby. He got to catch the baby. Honestly, that's pretty cool. It makes me think of like one day I will have a child myself, and that'll be like a super special moment, I believe. And wow, that's got to be powerful. All things aside with this topic, I think that is a beautiful moment. Definitely have medical professionals around you. I also found a video of her giving birth on a YouTube channel that promotes unmedicated, unassisted births. She's definitely on this page. See, it says birth vlog credit Karissa and friend Alex. Created Collins for Christ. Well, it gets even messier. Remember, she said that God told her that she should give birth at Target. Wow. Leather, the sinks were overflowing. The fire alarms were beeping all night. The expensive couch in our backyard got demolished by dogs, and every day I found a new thing that needed fixing. At 9 months pregnant with no AC and no husband to help, I completely shut down. In all this, sweet baby Anchor was peaceful and thriving inside, and then I got the call that I didn't in fact have HHV, and I received healing. The infection that I had for 9 months has never returned. I prayed for Anchor, the baby, the postpartum, the fast delivery. Usually my water breaks and I don't deliver until 12 plus hours later. Breastfeeding in every detail with the entire pregnancy. I felt that God wanted me to give birth outside of the hospital, even to the detail of giving birth in Target. I know that sounds crazy. It all sounds crazy. No. Just the part about Target sounded crazy. But I really did feel that God has given me a vision for this. And even the date of September 2nd, I was so convinced of this and had so much faith in it that I didn't have a backup plan. I never considered another way. As scary as it sounded, I asked God for a crazy testimony to believe in, and this was it. So I'm picturing her just like 9 months pregnant, just scoping out Targets in the neighborhood, man. Driving slow, got the sunglasses on, just looking for that Target, man. What it really sounds like is somebody that's going through a miserable, stressful time. They are alone, so they're having some severe mental health issues. And that makes sense because at one point she thought about checking herself into a mental institution.
I didn't wake up. I literally couldn't sleep. And I decided I was going to check myself into a mental hospital. That's how bad it got. I couldn't get free of it. No matter how many verses I said, no matter how much worship I did, no matter how much I praised God, I could not get free of the tormenting thoughts, of the no appetite, no energy. I have a deeper appreciation, understanding, empathy for people that go through mental disorders or postpartum depression.
Now, while that's pretty extreme already, it got to this point.
I had terrible thoughts going through my head. Like, part of me didn't even want to be here, to exist anymore. I just felt like I wasn't good enough for my children. But when I prayed and I took authority over those things.
One user saying this is so scary. She is at extremely high risk for potentially harming herself or her children. This is petrifying. Another saying she wasn't sleeping or eating and was anxiety puking for a week, but attributes her back popping then seizing up on her to Satan. That's just your late 30s and putting your body through the effing ringer for 7 days. But I'm sure it's screaming commands that helped and not the bath. Carissa's crazy is so confusing. Everything is horrible and demonic, then wonderful and Jesusified. Nothing can ever just be a thing that happened. ETA, I'm back to normal, she says while weeping. Another saying, she seems like she has serious mental health problems. Her husband is enabling her childbirth addiction and not giving her any kind of support other than monetary. Not to excuse everything Karissa does and says, but in a completely non-snarking way, she seems unwell. I agree with that 100%. And once again, she didn't get real medical help and just left her issues untreated. With no regard to her own health, she's not only putting herself in danger, but her children as well. So this next part is crazy. So we already know that she didn't get any real medical help from this, left her issues untreated with no regard for her own health, which is not only putting herself at risk, but her children as well. But there's this video that recently she posted of her children hitting her belly, and it had a deceased fetus inside it. Says this is your sign to forget the slime and squish toys at the store and just let them play with your flub. And again, she knows. And I think they know too. There's a deceased baby inside. One user saying the fact that she said she wanted to give her baby a peaceful exit, but she has her kids do this to her belly. Another saying there's literally a human baby in there. There should be some level of respect. So this is what she posted on her Facebook. Pregnancy update. I'm just waiting to fully miscarry. The waiting game is crazy and confusing and full of emotion. I see the doctor in 2 weeks, and while I'm ready to move on, I'm committed to caring for this baby until it's over. Thank you for the prayers, messages, and kind words. In the meantime, I'm embracing my pregnant tummy, and their laughs are everything. She ended up carrying it for another 13 weeks and ended up getting a D and C. She posted saying, I turned 20 weeks this week. I decided I needed a photo before I had the surgery yesterday. This was the only photo I got this pregnancy. The baby died around 7 weeks. But at the 20-week mark, my body still wouldn't miscarry the baby, so I had a D and C yesterday. I have an amazing doctor, and they did a great job. It appeared the sac was stuck. I've spent months processing and grieving this baby, and I waited 13 weeks until I went ahead with the surgery. We are ready to move on and praising God that my body is still healthy and whole. Now, this is when you start to see the holes in her belief system. Because if she truly believed in God's will in the way that her frame is, then wouldn't she have just let the process take its place? Obviously, I'm glad that she didn't, because that'd be dangerous. But I believe that's really what she wanted to do, as she actually prayed for the resurrection of this fetus. In this one post, it says, we spent 9 weeks praying for God to resurrect this baby, and I never went back to the doctor. I never passed the baby, and I thought the baby was fine. At 19 weeks pregnant, I went to the doctor and found out that there was no baby there, just a healthy, clean womb. Something about this is extremely dark, man, and sad to read and react all this. I do know that she deleted that video, and she ended up posting an apology.
I apologize. When I posted that video, what's on other people's minds was not on my mind at all. Never thought of it that way. It was a cute moment with me and my children. I didn't think anybody would even watch it. And if people have said, okay, a person, I'm sure more people have said that I used it as clickbait. Now, the first thing I want to address is I don't do clickbait. I don't like controversy. I don't post offensive things for followers. I don't want followers like that.
Clearly, she's lying. She just said she posted it because she thought it was cute and didn't think anybody would watch it. She has millions of followers. She knew that everything she does is incentivized to gain followers, clicks, and views. So she's lying right out the gate. And obviously, the comments are turned off. Karissa has a lot of harmful views, and a lot of it is, honestly, I'm not trying to be mean, it's pure ignorance. I think we can all see that that's what this is. It's confusing real scripture and God and kind of twisting it and formulating it into this twisted perversion that is diluted of its true form and presented in a way that is extremely harmful to individuals that might consume her content. If you were or are consuming her content right now and you've come here to hate this video, just understand that you should finish watching. So strictly looking at the logic here, she is an anti-vaxxer who believes that vaccines are made from dead fetuses, poison, and pig's blood. But the crazy thing is the logic here. She says that we don't need vaccinations because God created us perfect. But I guess that doesn't apply to needing medical intervention on types of things, of which she does do. So she's peddling out one thing, but then when it comes to her, she's making sure that she's safe, Hypocrite.
Also, I believe 100% that God created us perfect, and it doesn't make any sense to me that we would give birth to a baby and then by the time they're 2, give them 25 plus vaccinations. If we really believe that God created us perfectly, that He knit our bodies, all of the cells that are in our bodies and how amazing He created us, why would we then have to have vaccinations on top of that?
So if we were to believe that, we don't need any medication, matter of fact. My God. Holy crap. One user says, why doesn't she get the F off the internet and tend to that screaming child in the background? God, I hate this woman. Another saying, she expects the older children to do it. They have a buddy system. Was there a screaming child? I barely heard it, but it was there. Let's see if we can hear it.
Good. Also, vaccinations go into my body. They don't go into any...
I barely heard it, but I definitely heard it. Also, according to Karissa, she once broke her ribs and God told her to, am I reading this right? God told her to stop vaccinating her kids if she wanted to heal? What? So logically, Karissa believes that we don't need vaccinations because God made us perfect. But at the same time, she pushes plexus. So apparently we don't need vaccinations, but we need plexus. So did God make us perfect? We don't need anything, or what is it? Oh, you mean just things that make you money. So this is the Plexus website. It is an MLM company to which Karissa is an ambassador for. If you guys don't know what an MLM company is, multi-level marketing generally involves participants who are offered the opportunity to sell something and to make money both from their own sales and from the sales of people they recruit. Multi-level marketing can be a legitimate business, but some are illegal pyramid schemes in disguise. And Karissa advises people to take Plexus instead of and in place of their regular medications. One user saying, Karissa wants everyone to stop taking their prescription medications and use Plexus instead.
Products that I take is a triplex system. That's all I take. And I take that every single day. I am not sick. I am not unhealthy. I do not have any health problems. So I am not on it to be healed. I am, and if you do have health issues and you're taking pharmaceutical drugs, this is a great alternative. There are many different products that they sell that can help many different things that you're going through. So just reach out to me if you do have something you're struggling with, and I can look up what could be beneficial.
Carissa, you are a liar, okay? You're saying things because they're going to make you money, okay? You don't believe that God made us perfect, so stay away from vaccines, or you wouldn't take Plexus either because it falls under the same logic, okay? You just want to make a quick buck off your audience, okay? And your vulnerable viewers who probably are listening to you. User made a point here. She's out for blood, her kids, and the whole world. But we're not going to let you. We're smarter than that. Guys, one thing I want to get across to you in this video is that this person's version of Christianity it's not correct. There's a lot of people out there who have their interpretations, and you're supposed to have your interpretation of it. I'm for that. But when you start using it for your own benefit like this and spewing and distorting what it really is, it convinces people that there's something fundamentally wrong. And I agree with you. It's because there is something wrong here. In the phrase, God created us in his image, it doesn't mean that we're just super perfect and therefore we're basically divine beings that need nothing at all. That's not what that means, okay? When someone says created in God's image refers to spiritual nature, moral capacity, and consciousness, not our biology or immune system. It's about our ability to choose, reason, love, and create, not our physical bodies. We're not self-healing divine machines that never need medical intervention. That's just not true. What makes this worse is the selective logic that she's using. She's rejecting vaccines, saying God made us perfect, but then sells supplements, detox products, and oils, which implies we do need help. Well, at least when it fills her pocket. So look at this. This is on the Plexus website. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. That is not what she said. Let's go back.
And if you do have health issues and you're taking pharmaceutical drugs, this is a great alternative.
What a loser. She's pushing this to vulnerable women, saying it cured her infertility. She's posting testimonies by people saying it's their newest Plexus baby. Infertility actually led to Plexus almost 10 years ago, and now I have 5 Plexus babies. She also peddles it for postpartum weight loss. It's a Plexus miracle. 7 pounds in 3 days. It's not a miracle, it's water loss. When you eat carbohydrates, you make glycogen. Glycogen retains water. 1 gram of glycogen holds 3 to 4 grams of water. This is the core relationship. For instance, storing 400 grams of glycogen can add up to 1.6 or 3.5 pounds of water weight. And yes, overnight you can retain water, okay? And that's not even counting salt. Salt also can make you retain water, but it's not a bad thing, okay? That's why you can't really trust the scale, because the scale will go up and down to your water fluctuations and you could still be losing fat. That's why it takes a while, okay? One user saying, how can she have 11 babies and not realize that the immediate postpartum weight loss has nothing to do with calories or dieting and everything to do with your body flushing out the fetal aquarium it built for 10 months? And I'm going to answer you, it's because she's not trying to help. She's trying to sell snake oil. And I actually think this next one should be a crime. She said that it was safe during pregnancy and breastfeeding. She says, no, I'm not scamming you. If it starts like that, okay, it's probably a scam. It says, can you use it breastfeeding or pregnant? I did, and it was the greatest blessing in pregnancy and postpartum. I have a midwife article going into detail if you're interested. The funny thing about this is on the Plexus website, it actually says you should not drink this during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Is it safe to drink Plexus Slim while pregnant or breastfeeding? Do not use if pregnant or nursing, because it's alleged that the Plexus drink has 6 times more chromium than what's safe for pregnant women. Oh man. And here they are pushing Plexus. So I'm not advocating for one thing or the other. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy. She's saying that women should be dependent to their husbands, while she is not. In her example, she says, as a wife, I'm called to submission and have a gentle spirit. There are times my husband simply is making me mad and I want to go off on him or disrespect him. But because the spirit dwells within me, I choose submission. Mostly I do fail at times. Do I want to submit? Not always, but I do it out of obedience. And I can assure you, when you choose the Spirit, the Lord comes in and transforms your heart. I am not being fake, but rather choosing to obey the Lord. The issue is that she doesn't do that, and she flip-flops between it, and visually we see it. The words that she says and the actions that she puts, and even the words that she says herself, it's another one of those creators that are just telling on themselves with the things that they say, because I don't think they can understand nuanced concepts, so to speak. But she must nag a lot, because Mandre projects a little bit here, saying that he'd rather live on a rooftop than have a nagging wife.
Do not nag. Do not go to them and say, how dare you? I can't believe you can't do this. I don't know how you don't see this. Like, don't do that. It is the worst. I would rather live on the rooftop of my house than in a house with a nagging wife.
It almost feels like he's speaking from experience. She did say, for many years, I tried to be my husband's Holy Spirit and tell him what to do, what to read, what to believe, where to go, and how to think. I complained and allowed my mind to speak on every negative I saw. The Bible warns over and over about a nagging wife. It is easy to become that bitter and nagging wife. So easy to constantly complain and see the negative, and to demand your husband's every second. That's a prison for them. Probably this stuff was actually happening, you know? Not to mention that Karissa also believes it's a sin for women to deny their husbands downstairs playtime. And of course, using a Bible quote here, and I'm going to make a very important point here. 1 Corinthians 7:3, husbands must fulfill their duty to their wives and wives to their husbands. You do not have authority over your own body, your spouse does. We have a biblical duty to have playtime with our mates on a regular basis. So I'm going to give you guys a huge example of what Karissa does, and it's really manipulative, and maybe she is not even conscious of it, but we'll see about this, okay? So the actual literal translation from Koine Greek, which was the original tongue from when this was all written, says, the actual 1 Corinthians 7:3, and this is what it looks like in Greek here, the literal translation is, let the husband give to the wife what is owed, and likewise the wife to the husband. That doesn't sound anything like what Karissa was quoting. To make it worse, she combined 2 different pieces together. So this is Corinthians 7:3. This is what she said it was. But she combined 3 and 4, but she left out everything else. This was Paul talking about mutual equality within marriage. She paraphrased it and made her own thing and then presented it to her audience, which honestly doesn't seem like a very holy thing to do. So it really says, let the husband give the wife what is owed, and likewise the wife to the husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband likewise also, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife. So it's saying they both belong to each other. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by mutual consent for a time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer and then come together, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So he's basically saying, don't cheat or do bad things to one another. And then it says, but this I say by permission, not as a command. For I wish that all people were as I myself am, but each as his own gift from God, one this way, another in that. So it's permission, equality, balance in between the husband and the wife, not this perverted version. So she quotes Corinthians 7:3 here, but really it's 7:3 and 4, and then she adds this last part here, and this is just made up. This is an interpretation. You do not have authority over your own body, your spouse does. And ironically, I know these things because I theologically study the Bible. And the big issue you have with Karissa is that she's likely not doing this. This is something I think is really important to get out. You're talking ancient Hebrew and Koine Greek. These translations have multiple different word variations per each thing. Even if anybody cares to go back and look, you have to break it down and see which word's what, and then get the actual translation for it to the best of your ability. I think that things should be objective, and it should just be, this is what it says, not what you think it says based on that, and that's what she does, okay? And then plus she gets it wrong. And then she goes on to say, X completes your marriage. No more excuses, women, about headaches, the long days. This is what you owe your mate. There shouldn't be an excuse that keeps coming up to deprive your mate of X. Do not use X as a weapon. Satan uses X as a weapon to defeat single and married people, and we do not want to help Satan and do the same thing he does. X should be never a weapon in marriage. And so obviously this is terrible, and obviously this is wrong, and it's an incorrect message, and it goes out to the masses because they're reading it at a third grade level. And of course it's incorrect and disgusting and not right, and turns people away from the truth of what it actually is. Karissa has also been accused of whitewashing her children in pictures, heavily editing them to make them seem less of color. In these pictures, they look a lot darker, and in these pictures, they look a lot not darker. And it could just be the program, or maybe we lost some translation. Losing the translation is funny. Maybe we lost some translation through the processes of social media, and that's just being charitable. Karissa is quoted saying, I always use the all-in-focus action from the Pastel Dreams collection. I'm not sure what I would do without it. And the Clean Edit preset. She goes into detail saying, I use the Quick Clean preset, which I use on almost every photo these days, and lots of hand edits because the photo was very dark due to the light behind us. And if you guys are unfamiliar with what pastels and clean edits are, so a photo edited with pastel and clean presets might show smooth skin tones, bright whites, no harsh shadows, subtle faded colors, a peaceful or luxury minimal aesthetic. Bright whites, you say? No darker, harsh shadows, you say. Let's look at some comparisons. So here's baby one, looks kind of surreal, very emphasis on the white. And here's what the baby actually looks like. And here's another one where everyone in the family is looking a little bit more white, and even the husband. So here's the husband, Mondre, here. Just keep in mind that this is the same guy as this guy right here. And even though that she has said that she does this, and she's quoted saying this, she denies it. One user saying, sure, Karissa. She's got this here with the laughing face emoji saying, y'all, this is not filtered. She's saying this isn't filtered. Here they are again. She's even posted pictures where her kids have lighter and darker upper and lower torsos. Definitely not edited. Definitely not at all. One user saying, I said before that I knew they were half white and black. I just never seen it manifest like this. Another saying she gives a whole new meaning to the word biracial. She's also alleged to take no special care of their hair, and these are given as examples. One user saying Mandre could step in regards to that. Wouldn't he have family members or anything that could help educate her on the basic hair care for her children? These people is so important, and none of those kids are learning how to properly take care of themselves. Makes me so angry at all they're being deprived of. There was also a controversy surrounding a sweater that she ordered where it didn't even look like her children on the sweater. Lord Almighty, guys. I'm speechless at this sweater. What is going on with this woman? Of course, Karissa took to social media to say that she was given the wrong sweater. She says what I ordered versus what I got. And of course, I'm now accused of whitewashing my kids yet again. But the thing is like, it's still blonde hair, blue eyes. I think we have a bit of delusion here. I think there's psychosis going on. I think there's mental illness going on. I think this is a very dangerous situation. To make it worse, the website itself gives you all kinds of different options to get things right. Literally picking the eye color and the skin color and everything. One user says this, she's so stupid. She either got what she ordered, which was whitewashed version of her family, or she didn't, which means that she whitewashes photos of her family. I mean, that's a really good point. Either way, it's a problem that she didn't think it was a problem until people called her out. If it was a misprint, she could have complained to the company before putting it on, taking a picture and posting it to Instagram, but she didn't. She doesn't think it's a problem. She's rotten to the core, and those kids deserve better. I mean, this is a pretty obvious example of something's really up. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. And to make matters worse, she posted an AI-generated Muppet family photo that they're not just looking white here. They have straight hair. She posted this to her social media. It's either she's delusional or she knows exactly what she's doing. I mean, look at that. But she said herself that she doesn't do things for clicks and views, okay, even though we know that the entire channel is incentivized to make money off of her children. Worse than that, she seems to think because she owned a black doll when she was a child, it somehow excuses the alleged racism that she shows towards her family. Which ironically, it looks like she whitewashed the baby doll. Who knew I was prophesizing as a child? Laughing face emoji. I always had a baby doll when I was younger, just like my kids now. I even begged for them to be black baby dolls, and I got made fun of at show and tell at school for bringing a black baby. God is so cool to birth desires into our heart even at a young age. Karissa also is homeschooling all of your children. While that might seem impossible to homeschool several different grade levels, let's see how she's managing it. One post saying, the misconception many people have with me homeschooling is that it comes easy and that I have saintly patience. I don't think anybody thought that. She goes over her curriculum here saying, I've tried many different ones. I loved my father's world for the early years, and then it got too expensive with too many different pieces for each grade for me to keep up with. Easy Peasy was free but didn't match up with all my children's progress. Time for Learning was online and hands-off, but my children learned nothing, and they're now adding new gender language I don't agree with. Online isn't for us either. This year we found a curriculum that we can use together as a family. It's simple. We can do it all together every day, and we love doing it as a family. It's called Gather Round Homeschool. Let's take a look at the Gather Round Homeschool curriculum. Gather Round Homeschool is a Christian unit study program that can be used with children from pre-reading stage through 12th grade. It consists of monthly units, each on a different topic. All subject areas except math are taught within each unit, making connections whenever possible in a true unit study fashion. This is intended to be used as your core curriculum for the entire year, although you could use individual units separately. There are also separate courses for the beginning readers called Letters and Numbers and Ready to Read that can be used either on their own or alongside the regular unit studies. These take students from preschool through first grade and cover all subjects including math. And the creator, whose name is Rebecca apparently, says that this is how she created the program. So you guys can pause to read this in its entirety if you'd like to. I'm going to read a piece of this. This year I was praying and seeking him for my business. This idea literally popped in my head. I feel like I can still hear the words resounding in my mind clear as day. What if you could homeschool all of your kids together? I started scribbling furiously in my notebook. Units, all subjects, all grades, cohesive, engaging, challenging, curiosity-driven, collaborative learning, coffee, fun, adventures, rabbit trails, words, pictures of homeschool I always dreamed of. More than that, though, I had hope. She missed the comma right there. Gather Round Homeschool was born in a flurry, developed over a month, just a month. A sample was put together, a store was opened, and it was available for pre-sale. I dove in with both feet, both hands, and my entire family, like it or not, in tow. Blind faith is what this curriculum is born out of. Blind faith and a wild idea that seemed impossible. That's terrifying. So here's some of the teachings inside. So basically, I guess these are pieces of history, and you have to number which one came first in chronological order. So here they're teaching about Pocahontas, and it says that it's nuanced, and while we can agree on the facts surrounding the life of young Pocahontas, the details vary depending on who you ask. And then it says, only God can truly know the intentions and motivations of our hearts. Perhaps some hope to use the relationship between Pocahontas and Rolfe for their own selfish gain. I mean, like making a homeschooling program, even though you're not qualified to do so. One very interesting thing I thought I'd highlight is that Karissa believes the earth is flat and that God told her that this was the case. So under this post by Marcus Rogers about flat earth, Karissa says, God actually revealed this to me in a fast I had a few years ago. I have all the evidence, biblical and lots of others. You mean like the quote from Corinthians? I choose to believe it based on the Bible first, and then all the other stuff simply makes complete sense and logically aligns. Oh yeah? In fact, they've had many leak it and then go missing. That sounds like a conspiracy. God will have to reveal because, like anything else, you can Google it away. I find it insulting for her to assume that she does any amount of research at all, honestly. In this next clip, we're going to see that Karissa is teaching her children math and the equations are incorrect. So it's 5 over 7 times 4 over 6 equals 2042, and then you're supposed to simplify it by dividing both the numerator and denominator by 2. So she's got the top one here, 10, right? But this one's supposed to be 21, not 12. So a little bit of dyslexia going on there, I think. So being charitable, it's probably just a slip up, but it did go on to make the rest of the numbers incorrect. But she goes on to say only 2 hours of daily homeschooling is all her children need. In her daily schedule here, it says that they wake up, do chores, spend time with God, sit down, and do school for around 2 hours. And then on point 5 here, answering the question, you only spend 2 hours a day in school? Yes, In a school setting, that's really all the material they're covering as well. That's not true at all. She went to school. She's got to know this. It's just spread out throughout the day, and don't underestimate the time they're learning. Cooking, cleaning, organizing, family dynamics, math at the grocery store, and so much more. So while this is technically true, there's a reason it's spread out throughout the day. It's because of the way the brain works. You guys can look up TED Talks on this if you want to, but it has to do with the attention. Like if you can't sit down and say, I'm going to do 2 hours of studying. So one.edu article says, attention span begins to decay significantly after 20 minutes. Therefore, after 20 minutes of intensive study, stop. Attend to other concerns, if even just for a minute. Answer a phone call and send a text message. Check email, eat a snack, converse with a friend, etc. Begin the next 20-minute period with a review of the item from the last period. After 2 study periods, break for at least 5 minutes. After 4 study periods, break for at least 30 minutes. So think of it like a half bell curve. And it's like where if you're sitting down for like a study session, after about 20 minutes, your study ability to focus just drops and declines, and you just need to take a break and reset and then get set back down, and then that 20-minute clock starts over. And that's why school days are set up in this way. So you can't sit down and force yourself for 2 hours to just study nonstop. You're not going to retain anything. And we see an example with this because the oldest daughter seems to be struggling with reading.
The girl tosses it aside and gives it another try. She smoothens and reaches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives a head up with his paw. Look, that's him. It's a dog. And she hanged her things on the gate so it could sit there. And she was painting it so it could be yellow. Things it is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues the
One user saying, genuinely, does she know that she's telling on herself? That poor child is critically behind. One saying, yes, from what I can tell, she genuinely thinks she's a great mom. I think partly because she's just incredibly stupid and partly because she has narcissistic tendencies. And without being mean, I have noticed there is a lack of ingenuity in understanding concepts. She actually posted this saying, the system has scared us into believing that a 6-year-old who isn't reading is dangerously behind. But the truth is that we're pushing many kids to learn to read before they're ready. What? This is another example of she's trying to take information and twist it to where it makes sense and puts her in the right, just like she does with the Bible verses that we caught her red-handed with that Corinthians. I mean, this is pretty bad. She posted this and it says, adults, don't forget to test your reading level today. Don't know it? Maybe that's because it's not a real thing. I have no idea what my children's reading levels are. I just know that they enjoy reading and they can discuss, apply the content. No tests needed. So here's a card that her eldest daughter made, and it's got a lot of spelling mistakes. One user saying, and this is spelling from a bit more than a year ago at 9 years old. My hair and my eyes, which is spelled with 2 E's, and my brown and whatever this is, and my clothes and my pans and my she's and my I don't even know. One Reddit user points out, you are so prot and I want your hair. I think it's supposed to be pretty here. Slant face emoji. Normally a sweet thing, but uncomfortable given the context. If we're talking about the whitewashing alleged racism, then yeah, that is really uncomfortable. Another user saying very uncomfortable, big, the bluest eyes vibe, which given the context is horrifyingly applicable. And it also points to the fact that Karissa is lying when she says her kids have similar hair to hers. Clearly, they do not. So they find their hair so different that they wish for Karissa's hair. So the situation is not good. It doesn't look like the children are being properly educated. Well, just let's read this. In response to how does homeschooling look for you? That's been the biggest struggle with each kid. Normally I wake up and spend time with God and then start it. But with this new program, the kids just wake up and do it. They're usually done by the time I wake up. So it's been amazing. So the children don't have a teacher. They're teaching themselves while they're also raising each other with their buddy program. Holy crap. There's also a kid's health crisis here. Karissa not only failed to provide proper education for her children, but it looks like there are many instances where she's lacking in the health department as well. Proper medical help for her kids is lacking. Her dangerous beliefs have almost cost her kids their lives on multiple occasions. Allegedly.
And she just like all of a sudden lost complete control of her muscles. So she couldn't hold her head up. She wouldn't lift her legs. She like her face drooped. She had no facial expressions. We ended up going to lunch afterwards. Wouldn't look at her. Her eyes were like this. It was just really scary. So we went to eat lunch, and she just looked really, really bad. So we got to Cook's emergency room, or I took her by myself. The rest of the family stayed and ate lunch with my mom. They admitted her. They took her to the back to the emergency room, and they took her blood, like did a bunch of tests. They ended up doing, because we don't vaccinate, which they tried to blame her sickness on us not vaccinating. And so because we don't vaccinate, they really thought she had tuberculosis. So then they took her straight to an MRI and an X-ray. And as he was taking her to the MRI, a nurse came over, looked at me, told him a secret, and then took off. And I'm like, what is happening? I already have fears of CPS because social media calls CPS so much. So we run into this new room, and they hook her up to all these machines. They're all yelling. They're yelling that she has sepsis and to hurry up. And they hook her up to all kinds of machines. And then they eventually put her on high flow oxygen. She looks scared out of her mind. They put a neck brace on her because she is like, her neck is wobbling. She can't, she literally has no muscle control. At this point, all they know is that she had a UTI that spread to the rest of her body. It's a UTI that no one could have seen coming. It was completely undetectable. She really didn't have any signs except when I got to urgent care, her diaper, her pee looked a little brown. So when I got there on Sunday, they said I could hold her and feed her. So I held her and gave her a bottle, and she drank 5 ounces. They were so happy with it. And while I was holding her, she had some episode, and it looked like she had passed out. Her stats went down, and they grabbed her from me, put her on the bed, and they all started freaking out. It was like she stopped breathing for a second.
Apparently, while this child was fighting for her life, Mandre was coaching a volleyball game.
My husband was coaching my daughter's volleyball game because I was supposed to be coaching her last game at that moment. So my husband had to step in and coach her. So I called my mom and said, when the volleyball game is over, please go take my kids and send Mandre immediately here. I need him. So he gets there, and I just start bawling. And then the doctor comes in, and their tones change completely. I don't know why, if it's a woman thing or what it is, but they all completely change, and they tell him everything. They explain what's going on. At this point, all they know is that she had a UTI that spread to the rest of her body. It's a UTI that no one could have seen coming.
It sounds to me like these nurses and doctors didn't trust Karissa with information, and that's why they were more forthcoming with Mandre. Probably because she was saying things like the child didn't need any high-flow oxygen because she thought that, I don't know, she just didn't need it.
They still had her on the high-flow oxygen, which seemed to make her so much worse. She really hated, when someone blows in your face and you're like, that's how she was for a long time. What is this in my face? I really didn't think she needed it. I don't even really know why they gave it to her. So I kept telling them, can you please put her back on regular oxygen? This seems to be bothering her. But I guess it was protocol. So it was an exhausting day.
So there's actually a picture of the child hooked up to tubes and things like that. I'm not going to show. I wouldn't want pictures of me like that out there. But Karissa's post says, we're back. It's been the hardest 3 weeks of our lives, yet the most rewarding 3 weeks ever. That's very strange language. Rewarding. What was rewarding about it? I'm sure I'll be sharing testimonies for weeks. That's kind of weird. User said, don't forget the doctors, nurses, medicine who helped, and the machines too. To which Karissa responds, while I appreciate the hard work of the doctors, they still don't know why it happened or how to help her. It was literally only God that got her through. He gets all the glory. So it's alleged that she ignored all the symptoms and waited until it was as bad as it could be, which tracks because if she's sitting there and thinks that God is going to heal her I mean, we look at her with the situation with the fetus in her stomach, the baby in her stomach, and we see that she was praying for resurrection. This is sort of, I mean, there's a lot of words, but it's within the realm of possibility that she was in fact waiting for God to make a miracle here. And to still make my point even further, here's a really dark statement where she's talking about sacrificing her children to God. As Anthem was in the hospital for the last month, and as I stared at her in the ICU on a ventilator, I had come face to face with this question as I sat there completely out of control, yet still trying to control every move, thought, and breath that came out of me. I had to ask myself, what if God asks me to sacrifice her? So that is a very concerning statement, but worse is this. Too many people won't sacrifice for God, and when it's over and the battle is lost, they blame God and fall away from Him. Are we willing to give up what we cherish the most, our children, in order to serve the Lord? I had to give up control in that hospital room. Again, this is a perversion of the truth. This is somebody that is clearly mentally ill, and they're twisting things to make sense in their delusional world. And to make matters worse, the child ended up getting another UTI not too long later.
So, as of a few months ago in March, 2 weeks after I brought my newborn baby home, kind of the same thing happened. She ended up getting a 99-degree fever one day. We just thought she's had lots of viruses. She's had fever before. We just let it pan out. I do take her to urgent care. They send us home. So I was like, you know what? Just take her to urgent care just to be sure. So my husband took her to urgent care, her 99-degree fever. She got there. They did because she had already been hospitalized with a UTI, they did a urine test, and she ended up having a UTI again. So she was hospitalized for 5 days. She ended up having higher CK levels, but because she's older and because we treated it quicker, because we knew what to look for, her recovery was faster. She didn't have to go to ICU this time. She was just in a regular room, which was a blessing. She came home and still had to learn how to hold her head up and walk and all of that. And it was still very hard to see as a mom, your child in pain.
So you're not going to be surprised at this next piece of information. Did you know that Karissa has a reputation for not changing her kids' diapers on time? One user posting, how many more UTIs for this baby until Karissa starts changing her diaper on time, talking about how saggy the diaper is. Also pointing out, filming your child with almost no clothes on and a diaper so heavy you can almost see the butt crack, disgusting even for Karissa's standards. And this points to another really disturbing thing. There are creeps on the internet, and we've covered them, that are into diaper kinks and different things like this. And man, it's falls in line with other just, family channels. Not good stuff. And there are multiple examples of really full diapers that need changed, and it's very obvious. I'm not going to cycle through all the pictures of these full diapers, but they're definitely 100% there. Not to mention, she admits on record that she doesn't change diapers that often. I can't believe she said this. One user saying, it was kind of better you didn't say anything, because the ideology that kids don't get UTI because nurses change every 3 hours sounds kind of ridiculous. I totally agree, but it also seems kind of odd that you had all 10 children get dressed and ready for a video, comb their hair and pick out apples, and didn't change him for the video. This was one of those situations that you shouldn't have just let things go. To which Karissa says, I don't change every pee. Like I said, the diaper wasn't even that full. It's clearly full. And then apparently not too long later, the child was sick again, to which she screamed prayers for 2 hours instead of going to the hospital. Yesterday, Anthem started puking everywhere, all over me all afternoon. She got a small fever and was lethargic. I immediately was filled with fear, debilitating fear. Instead of sitting in my fear, I decided to start praying and praising with all of my children. We spent 2+ hours screaming praise. And Anthem was immediately healed. While we sang, she danced, played, ate, and drank, and all of my children were screaming praises. It was life-giving. So you can see why I'm saying it's within the realm of possibility that she's not taking her children to the hospital and waiting to the very last second. And we also see how dangerous this was. Karissa posted this saying, this boy right here has no stop. A few months ago, we thought he jammed his big toe joint that connects to his foot while winning the MVP of the All-State game, but it never got better. This last weekend, he hurt it worse. We thought it was just jammed because he literally scored 103 points, but went to urgent care yesterday to check it out, and it's broken. He will see the ortho soon, but y'all, 103 points with a broken foot. Like what? If determination was a person, it would be named Andre. Testimony time. Andre woke up with a swollen eye and could barely see out of it this morning. On our way to the All-State game, He prayed healing and was immediately healed. So as we can see, there's a clear pattern of the kids getting sick and showing clear signs of illness, and Karissa dismissing these signs, not getting them the medical attention that they need, and you won't believe the next story I'm about to tell you. So this was Thursday, May 29th, 2009, labeled, "How Could I Be a Mother?" So Friday, we come home from work around 8 p.m. like always, and I see Bebe, Boots. Apparently this is the dog. Boots isn't jumping up and down to see us. She was just dragging her little legs around to be close to us. I didn't think much of it. Then she just goes to the couch and lays down and won't come to me when I call her. I get close to her and see that she can barely breathe. She was gasping for air. I try to give her any number of our different variations of treats and she won't eat or drink anything. So I start to get worried. I hold her close and she's literally gasping for air. And it is really, really bad. Awful. She can't hold her head up. She couldn't get comfortable at all. She looks at me and her eyes start to roll into the back of her head and her eyes turned cloudy. And then I started to panic. I started crying, freaking out that my baby is dying. So we try to take her on a walk, but she could care less and she can barely walk. You can tell she is in a lot of pain. We get 2 houses down and I realize that she is suffering, and so I turn around and go home. We do not know any vets in town and it is 10 p.m. by this time, so we put her little body that can't breathe in bed and pray for her all night. I couldn't figure out why she was acting like this, and then she says something bizarre. She usually acts like this, not nearly this bad, when she eats fertilizer, but we hadn't laid fertilizer out for weeks. So with my potent pregnancy nose, I walk to her food and almost pass out. I pick up her bowl and there are maggots and mold in the bowl. I start to think, when we left for our cruise, she still had food in her bowl, and when we got back, it was still there. Our house smelled good when we got back to it and nothing smelled bad at all. Then she says she just throwed some food on top of the food and that was it. Well, I just put some food on top of the food that was already there. This is canned food, not refrigerated. Well, apparently the food was no good and had molded while we were gone. So I stand there throwing up and very upset because if she dies, I am the one that killed her because I was too lazy to clean her food bowl. I felt horrible. How could I possibly almost be a mother if I almost my one and only baby? Well, good news is at 3 a.m. she jumped into our huge and high up bed with me, and so that was awesome because that night she couldn't barely jump into our small couch, so she was better in the morning. And by lunchtime we got her to go eat some chicken, so baby was okay by the grace of God. I know that he saved her because it sure wasn't her. And this is the same problem that we've been seeing a pattern of repeating the entire video. And I haven't seen anybody talking about the religious misinterpretations and understandings. Probably because most people don't theologically study the Bible. So not everything that happens is by the grace of God, okay? Sometimes humans do things that, they should not do. Or in this case, you should have made sure you were feeding your dog correctly. That's literally what Jesus died on the cross in the first place, because human sin, that's the whole point. That's like the thing, It's also alleged that Karissa is notorious for taking long naps and relaxing in the bathtub for hours while leaving her kids unsupervised. One user saying, am I the only one wondering how Karissa finds time to spend hours in the bath multiple times a week? Has she already parentified her daughters this much? Showcasing this post from Karissa, oops, I've been in the bath for an hour. And it's not any surprise that leaving the kids unattended, one almost got their finger cut off. One user saying the 3-year-old apparently closed the shears on his fingers. Neither Karissa nor Mondre were supervising them. The 1-year-old and 3-year-old had shears because the 11-year-old left them on the kitchen table. Neither Karissa or Mondre had checked on him or put them away. He left them there because he used them for homeschool. Neither parent was present during his morning schoolwork. He got them because he couldn't find the kid scissors. Neither parent was available to ask. He had to find his own supplies for schoolwork because Karissa stays in bed till 11 a.m. and then moves to the couch. Mondre made himself completely unavailable while in the home office. They knowingly left their children alone all morning. They never check on them. They didn't pay attention enough to notice, definitely not kid scissors. Hours of decisions to pick negligence went into Anchor's injury. Luckily, Karissa did take him to the hospital this time. They found out that one of the tendons was severed and he was going to need surgery. In this post here, it says, the day before the surgery, I began to be filled with fear. After signing off on all the risks, fear overtook me. The pre-op didn't go as expected. I was expecting a good report and possibly no surgery necessary since we had 2 weeks for God's healing. But the doctor informed me that both tendons had definitely been cut and it would be a hard and almost impossible surgery that would take 4 hours or more. So then she almost didn't do the surgery because she didn't know if God wanted her to do it. I started to doubt what God wanted us to do. I would much rather have my son loss of his pinky finger than his life. And then my friend that had no idea my son was even having surgery because she isn't on social media, sent me a worship song that night, a song that caused me to draw closer to God and remember his promises, to remember his protection, to remember the God I serve. And I started praising God and praying his promises over my little boy. You're not going to believe this. Karissa thought it would be a hilarious prank to joke that she cut her finger off. I'm not joking. Bro, that was not funny at all. That was absolutely disgusting, especially given the circumstance and situation. One user saying all of them seemed effing traumatized. And did you hear the way Andre was screaming? What kind of person hears their child screaming like that and keeps going on with the joke? Some other strange things that I found was in her old blog, she said that she always wanted to spank her children, which is a weird thing to always want. I'm just saying. She says, discipline is really hard for me. I always knew when I had a child, I wanted to spank my children. But when my daughter got around to 1 year old, I realized that I just cannot spank her. The first reason I needed to discipline her was for hitting, and that was probably why I cannot spank her. Why would I hit her for hitting? Does that make sense? And this is stop hitting me. Come here so I can hit you. Come on now. So even though she said that she doesn't do it there, she contradicts herself here. Of course, she does it because God tells her to. User asking, okay, but how do you manage toddler meltdowns and tantrums? Because I only have 2 kids. And I want more, but holy crap, the tantrums are hard, crying face emoji. To which Karissa says, ask the Holy Spirit to guide me. Sometimes it's time out. Sometimes it's ignoring it. Sometimes spanking and sometimes a hug. It's all situation by situation. Now let's check out the home tour and see what we got.
This is the baby's room, unfortunately. And so he has to share it with all of my boutique clothes.
And one child sleeps in the newborn studio here.
This is my newborn studio. It's our dining room turned into a studio. It has all my props on the walls for my newborns. All my props are in that cabinet. And Answer sleeps in here because she cannot sleep with other people. We tried that.
One child sleeps next to the dog's bed.
This is our dog bed over here. And then Anchor's nap. Look at our dirty floor. I'm sorry.
If I'm being charitable, maybe she moves the thing away from the dog bed when the baby's napping.
My husband did that baby gate. The stairs lead up there. I'll show you guys all that later. I'm a little nervous to go up there. I haven't seen it yet.
So she's nervous about what the upstairs looks like, and it looks like she's got everything everywheres. It doesn't look very organized. There's a lot of individuals who believe that she should focus on the children that she has right now because she's running out of attention to give them. It looks like that they run around and the house is out of sorts, is, putting it mildly. We've heard talk about CPS. We heard her being worried about CPS at the hospital, and it looks like CPS has been called multiple times. In response to this, people reported your Instagram or reported you to the CPS, I'm assuming, and she says both. Last year, social media reported us to CPS 4 times for hearing voices, God, not vaccinating, believing in healing, my unassisted birth, saying I have mental illness, and so on. To which she brags about being cleared from CPS. Here saying, bye trolls, we know who God ordered us to be. So the post says, go ahead and call CPS. They've cleared us same day 4 times. We have nothing to hide. We love God. We love our children. We even love you. We know who God created us to be and we'll continue walking in it. Making the question, why are they calling? because we love God and live by the Bible, because I hear voices, aka God, because we don't do the vaccines, because my children have been healed by God with broken bones so people assume we refuse medical care, because I had unassisted birth, because I bleached their skin. Is she admitted to that? Because I share my hard days, so I must have a mental illness, and so on. There's always something to assume from everything. So if you're hearing voices that are telling you to give birth at Target or to sacrifice your child, CPS should probably be called. But you guys let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And if you haven't yet, smash that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, going into deep dives and calling out individuals' terrible logic. There's going to be a lot more. Karissa goes on to give 3 reasons why you should stop calling CPS on her.
All right, let me give y'all 3 reasons why you should stop calling CPS. Number 1, we serve Yahweh, a mighty God who avenges his enemies.
Was that a threat?
Number 2, we have nothing to hide. We're doing nothing wrong. And number 3, you're wasting your time and energy. There's nothing CPS has against us, and they keep closing the cases. So move on to your own life.
Another really strange thing that I think we should talk about is that she supported the Duggars, which if you don't know, the Duggars are another fundamental Christian family, I believe. Fundy family, they call them. Is that right? So apparently a Fundy is short for fundamentalist. A Christian fundamentalist believes these 5 things. The Bible is the inerrant and infallible word of God. Jesus is God. The substitutionary atonement, the virgin birth of Jesus, the resurrection of Jesus, and his second coming sometime in the future, which is interestingly very, very, very broad. So I'm assuming evangelicals. So this is the Duggar family. Holy crap, how many kids do they have? 19 kids and counting, formerly 17 kids and counting, 18 kids and counting, is an American reality television oh my God, it's a television show, huh? Starring the Duggar family. Well, you learn something every day. And this is the husband, I believe, Josh Duggar. Apparently, Josh Duggar is an American convicted offender and former reality television personality, the eldest of Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar's 19 children. So according to court documents and evidence presented at trial, Josh Duggar, 34 at the time, repeatedly downloaded and viewed images depicting SA of children, including images of prepubescent children, depictions of sadistic ABUSC. In addition to the 151-month sentence, Duggar must serve 20 years, supervised release, registered as an offender, and pay $50,000 in fines. So this dude is sick. And apparently it's alleged he touched 4 of his sisters and a family friend, and this was all covered up by the parents. So this is a post that Karissa made. It says, "When I watch the Duggars and the Bates, yes, I love these families. I cannot stand the hate they get. Instead of celebrating the work God has done inside them, instead of being inspired to be better, we secretly just want to feel better, to know everyone else is imperfect, and some people have to make life's mission to expose everyone they think is too good." So she's literally mad at people for exposing the heinous activities of this dude. One user says, "I used to love the Duggars too, until their son came out as a P3DO, which is exactly what he is. Look at your beautiful babies and think about what he would see and think and feel while looking at them. If that doesn't make you sick to your stomach, nothing will." To which Karissa says, "Do you know how many people are secretly committing this sin? He just has his blasted. The family isn't. What about a family who has a son that murdered someone? Now we all of a sudden can't speak kindly of his family? We have to stop judging. The family is doing the best they can. I can't imagine what they're going through." What is weird about this is her attention of sympathy goes in that direction, but not on the victims. So that's really strange. Another user says, "Okay, but people criticize the Duggar parents because they knew that their son was a not good person and they didn't get him. Or their ABUSCD daughters actually getting counseling or help, not because people are jealous of how well Michelle raised her kids. Being legitimately concerned for the children in her care that were exposed to a offender coveting her life." Karissa saying they got him the help they believed he needed. We all have family issues and we all handled them the best we can. If we looked at every single person's life we could and find a flaw and a hole to attack, sometimes all you can do is pray. There isn't always an easy answer that works or helps in every situation. I'm speechless on this woman. She doesn't understand, and it's going completely over her head, that her emphasis of attention of sympathy, okay? Oh my gosh. And apparently Karissa has written 2 books, which I can only imagine are absolutely terrible, full of misinformation and things that are not true, like we've seen all throughout this video. The books are Raising Arrows for Christ, all the controversial topics we don't want to talk about while biblically parenting, and it's got 2.6 stars. Good. The other one titled Should We Stop? Tackling all the reasons people stop having children and what God's word says about it. 2.5. Okay. Somebody did leave a very detailed review. They titled A Slippery Slope of Theological Nonsense, which is exactly what I was gathering from this research I went over. I don't begrudge someone the right to espouse their beliefs, but the author obviously has a successful social media following, but that doesn't translate to the ability to write a book. There's a lot going on that needs to be addressed. Number one, the grammar and formatting is atrocious. Self-published doesn't mean unedited and not proofed. If you want your message to be taken seriously, these things matter. But I'm almost certain that she probably just believed that she didn't need any of that because God was going to do these things for her. The title has mistakes. That's a pretty big red flag as to what you'll encounter in the actual book. The fact that the author states that she hates to read and has never read a whole book is abundantly clear. Number two, the content is too mature for kids. The age range supposedly begins at 8. No way I would let my kid read this. Number three, to piggyback off of number two, the whole explanation of what is and what is not biblically allowed in the marriage bed is way out of bounds. You don't make those decisions for other believers. And that's kind of like my point from earlier, like she was interpreting what she was reading, albeit incorrect, and then just making stuff up, cut several different verses, and then just saying it was Corinthians, this, that, and when it wasn't just that, and just putting it out to people. Number four, the author believes that you will be healed from any illness, disease, broken bones, etc. if your faith is strong enough. That's not what the Bible says, and I can think of few things that are more harmful for a new Christian to believe and hear. That's another point. That's what I've been trying to say. She's misrepresenting what is actually written. Number five, the constant use of the word Yah in reference to God is her prerogative, but it's super annoying. Number six, she frequently mentioned that God told her to do this or that, but she does it in a way that puts words in God's mouth, so to speak. Yep. And that's a slippery slope of theological nonsense. This is a really good comment, okay? Because I agree with everything that this person is saying. She is using God as an excuse. It doesn't make God look very good to would-be Christians, okay? Number seven, she advises women to go against their doctor's advice. This is dangerous in general, but specifically for birthing at home, which she encourages with no medical supervision. Number eight, there's no need to talk about children in such an in-depth way when it comes to their private parts. You can give your opinion on oh my God, what the heck did she write? She goes into detail of this in her book. I rarely review books unless they are very, very good or very, very bad. In this case, this book is dangerous physically and spiritually. I would give it 0 stars if I could. My final thoughts on Karissa is that she is a very ignorant, dangerous person. She should not be looked up to. It is misrepresenting Christian faith. It is misrepresenting God as a whole. And other than that, I have to say that I appreciate you for being here. And if you've made it this far, thank you very much. I hope that you have enjoyed your time here. And if you too want to join the Rep Squad community, all you got to do is subscribe, notification, turn on, be in the comment section of every single video because I'm going to be there. The rest of the Rep Squad community as well. And I expect to see you there too because this channel does in fact love you. That's correct. And thank you to all my patrons.